Hello, welcome to Cinema Savvy, and welcome to a watch-along for the 2006 film V for Vendetta, directed by James McTeigue. It is just me tonight, so as I say, this is going to be like a live stream, watch-along, hangout kind of situation. We still do have a few more minutes before we hit play, so if you do have your copy of V for Vendetta, whether it's on DVD, digital download, however you're watching this film, get it all past the DVD menus, get it ready to go, get it on zero, and I will let you guys know. Got just under about 2 minutes before we hit play, and fingers crossed if I've timed this correctly. I did plan this earlier. For UK viewers, when it hits midnight in the movie, it should marry up exactly with midnight our time as well. So hopefully that works. That would be really cool if we can manage to do that. I picked this film for a number of reasons. Number one, it is the eve of Guy Fawkes Night, Bonfire Night. Not that we'll really get to celebrate it all that much in the UK. We're going into a nationwide lockdown as of tomorrow. So as of midnight, we will be in a nationwide lockdown. And so I'm just checking the time here. We've just got a minute before we hit play. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world politically. 2020 has been quite a year. We've got the US elections going on at the moment. We've had coronavirus. We've had riots. We've basically had everything short of a meteor and an alien invasion at this point, but we still have a month left of the year, so let's not rule it out just yet. So we are going to be hitting play on this movie on a 24-hour clock at 21:58 and 6 seconds. That's 21:58 and 6 seconds. Few seconds, just let us know your thoughts on V for Vendetta. Like, comment, share, subscribe. We are coming almost up to the time. So I'm going to hit the play. We're going to hit play first, and then I'll do the socials later. So yeah, we need to get the movie up and ready. Hopefully we have some people jump on this thing before too long, but I was going to plan on watching this movie anyway tonight. Okay, so it'll be 6 seconds. It's 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and play. Man, I really hope I've got this timed right. Maths isn't my strong suit, so we'll see. I'll periodically do time checks as well. We'll see how we go. Hopefully we get some people watching along as well or joining the stream. If you've just joined in the stream, do get commenting along. We're in this for the long haul. This is just over 2 hours. And I'd like to actually talk to some people in the comments, so we'll see what happens. So it's just logos at the moment. I believe that V for Vendetta, I think it was bought out. So it was obviously a graphic novel series. It was a volumes of series from Alan Moore between 1982 and 1989, if I remember rightly. So I think it was eventually bought out by DC Comics. So technically this is a DC movie. And it's one of the best. This is easily one of my favorite films. Graphic novel adaptations, comic book adaptations, whatever you want to call it. Let me see if I've got subtitles on this thing. It'll just make it a bit easier to follow with what's going on. There we go. So we just got the opening right now. We've got Guy Fawkes just escaping. For the longest time, I always thought this was Antonio Banderas as Guy Fawkes. I don't know. It kind of looks like him in the face a little bit. Maybe that's just me. But no, I think this is one of my yearly traditions, watching V for Vendetta. It's something that I watch either actually on Guy Fawkes Night, the 5th of November. It's something that I watch on the eve of. I think it's mostly on the 5th that I tend to watch it, but I wanted to change it up this year for the channel. I actually believe we already have a review up for this film on the channel that we did a bunch of years back. But this is the first time that we've done a watch-along to it, and it's easily one of my favorite films, as I mentioned. So it'd be a good one to do, I think. I can see that we've got 2 people watching now. So as I said, please do get commenting along. Guy Fawkes has just been... And yeah, like as I said, like I watch this every year, and I remember watching it last year, and I do think it's a timeless film. I think politically there are always going to be parallels that you can draw from this film into the current news and the current world developments. But especially after this year, this viewing is going to be very interesting tonight, I think. So we're into the film properly now. The mask is just going on for syncing. We are 2 minutes 40 into the film. What I love about this moment here, and this theme just runs all the way throughout the film. It's the parallels between V and Evie, not in the name alone, but just from the filming here, the cinematography, both of them getting ready, listening to the same TV broadcast. Different motives, but both have a equal disdain for the government in some way. V definitely more so. V in more of a murderous, revenge-filled way. Which obviously Evie sort of becomes ingratiated into later on throughout the film. It's just very clever, just very clever. You know, it says everything it needs to say without any dialogue between the two characters. So I think I should pretty much open with saying this before we get into the film is that I actually haven't read the graphic novel, Alan Moore's graphic novel. I know that he's revered for never wanting his name present or to be credited or to be given any royalties or paid anything with his. He doesn't want any involvement in the films, essentially, with his film adaptations of his work. Before this film came out, there were two Alan Moore adaptations. Most famously, since this one is probably Watchmen, that's probably his sort of like magnum opus in terms of his writing. Again, not credited at the beginning of that film either. Before this, on the big screen, you had From Hell starring Johnny Depp and, oh God, I've forgotten her name. She's in Austin Powers too. Oh, the name escapes me. So you had From Hell, the Jack the Ripper movie, and you had The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with the late great Sean Connery. Not a great movie, and definitely compared to the graphic novel, it's a completely different animal entirely. And I know that Alan Moore again didn't like this film, even though I will say that I'm aware of some of the changes between the graphic novel and the film, but I like how they've updated the film in this context. So, this was 2006. It was, 5 years after 9/11, and there's definitely some parallels to sort of like American politics and things that were going on around that time and the fallout of that present in this film. The graphic novel itself, as far as I understand, is sort of depicting sort of Margaret Thatcher and her era of, like conservatism in the UK during the 80s. Although I believe in the graphic novel, if someone's read it, then someone please do correct me. But I believe it's set in a post-nuclear war world, and sort of this new government established itself. This new dystopian, tyrannical government has established itself in Britain. We have a comment who says that Christina Ricci. Oh yeah, no, it wasn't. I think if that's in relation to From Hell, you mentioned Christina Ricci. I don't think it was her. I'm going to have to check this, why V is kicking so much ass. I haven't even talked about Hugo Weaving in this film yet, but we'll get to that in a second. I'm just going to check this real quick. It was Heather Graham. That's the one I was looking for. Heather Graham. She was in Austin Powers 2, The Spy Who Shagged Me. So we're just having V beating up the Fingermen right now. We are currently 6 minutes and 25 seconds into the film. Spare the rod. It's Hugo Weaving's so perfect in this film, and I believe he did actually wear the outfit and he was present on set. I'm sure they had like the stunt guys and everything, which is just part and parcel with any kind of film like this, like a comic book film with loads of action in it. But he was actually brought on really, really late into the game. As far as I understand, they had another guy in mind. Let me just get his name up here. James Purfoy, and the only thing that I know him from was the Rome TV series that came out in the mid-2000s. And he dropped out for whatever reason into production. Hugo Weaving was brought in. So considering the short amount of time he had to prepare for the film, I think he did a terrific job. We're just into the classic, sorry, the V monologue right now. The alliteration with all the V's. I did learn this once. Fide. Yeah, no, it's gone now. I used to know this. The only verdict is vengeance, a vendetta, not in vain, but is it? Vengeance. It's not in vain. My God, hats off to Hugo Weaving. You know, like I think the guy comes from a theatre background, so you know the Shakespeare and everything. He's got this kind of stuff down. And it's amazing how much expression, and I think the filmmakers even mentioned this in the production, just how much expression they were able to get out of an expressionless mask. You know, the face isn't animated, it doesn't move. We never see Hugo Weaving's face behind the mask, which I think was very important for the character and the themes of the story, that who's behind the mask doesn't matter, it's the ideas. It's kind of like the whole Batman Begins Bruce Wayne thing, you know, as a symbol I can be something else entirely, I can be a legend, and inspire this idea in people. But they used a lot of lighting and different subtle lightings on the face and everything, and it looks great. I love the lighting in this film. So we're just about to get to the Old Bailey explosion. I'm aware that the US elections and stuff are going on tonight, so we're probably not going to have a massive crowd for it. It was just unfortunate timing, but it's still something that I wanted to do. While we're coming up to the Old Bailey explosion, this is a great scene, though. I'm just going to quickly go over to the socials. So you can follow us on Facebook, Cinema Savvy. Any of our videos, we've got a lot of videos coming up, including a bunch this weekend, a new Battle of the Brackets episode. You can follow us at Cinema Savvy on Facebook. Twitter is cinema_savvy, and a link to our merch in the description down below for TeePublic if you want any t-shirts. Speaking of t-shirts, I'm very happy with my one tonight. I'm rocking my one and only V for Vendetta shirt that I have. Always comes in handy for these viewings. So I think this film gives a rough date as to when it's set. I think it says that it's 2027, but it's basically in the not too distant future. And I think it's important for an adaptation as well, in that although it might not be a direct adaptation from the, you know, it's not set in the 80s or whenever, it shuffles some elements of the narrative around. As far as I understand, the character of Evie is completely different from what she is in the graphic novel. But in my opinion, it still withholds the themes and that's told in V for Vendetta, the graphic novel. And as long as an adaptation can do that and stay true to the heart of its source material, then I don't mind a setting change or a time change. Here we go, the explosion. Boom. So the Old Bailey is currently being destroyed to the 1812 Overture by Tchaikovsky. This will come back later. So I believe following this scene, we're about to be introduced to John Hurt. Yep, so it's just cut to John Hurt now. The late, great John Hurt, man, what a national treasure he was. Tremendous actor. And of course, like it's bringing in, as a film, it can bring in loads of different dystopian and you know, dictatorships and everything like that. There are elements of this that link to the real life Third Reich, you know, elements of Stalin in there as well. And as I mentioned, sort of like the post 9/11 political situation as well. But this, you know, like the big face on a TV screen, the whole Big Brother is watching you kind of thing. It's very 1984, very Orwellian. And of course, 1984, the film starred John Hurt as the lead character. So it's a nice little connection there. You know, I love the framing here as well. It's very Bond villain-esque. You know, the endless black backgrounds, the spotlight on all of the figureheads. And I think the graphic novel, they refer to them all as sort of like different parts of the body. You know, earlier we just had the two guys that assaulted Evie called the Fingermen. And, you know, like the fingers were meant to be the people that sort of like go out and do like the beat cops that do like all the dodgy dealings on the street and make sure everything's in order. Oh, we had Hennock. Hennock said, hi and goodbye because I got to sleep now. No worries, man. Thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate that. But yeah, hopefully we get some people in. I'm doing a lot of talking. I feel like I'm just talking, you know, just try to fill dead air, but it's all good. Hopefully what I'm saying is educational. As I say, there will probably be like periods of the commentary where I just sort of fall silent and just watch it. Okay, so like here's another clever parody, and I like that there's nothing. It's set in London, of course. You know, Parliament, the Old Bailey, everything like that. Those are real world things. But you also have these. It feels very heightened, especially when we get to the action later on in the film. Although that might be down to the people who helped make this film, and it was written by them, the Wachowskis, obviously famous from the Matrix films and the action films they did there. There's definitely a lot of carryovers with that when we come to this. But the BTN, for example, this news station that's kind of a cross between the American Fox News and you've got, you know, like BBC in the UK. And it's almost like this hybrid. It's this very clever mash, which makes it feel heightened, very familiar, but heightened. And I think that's important. It adds that sort of timeless quality to it, I think. There is something with this film as well. I'm not sure if we've already missed one, but we'll definitely have a few more in the film. If you wanted to do a drink along to this, there's only one rule that I can think of, and it's drink every time someone says the word bollocks. There's some questionable British accents in this film, mostly from Natalie Portman. She's not awful by any stretch of the imagination, but it's definitely, you know, trying to be like, all right, governor, kind of thing. But yeah, drink every time they say the word bollocks, because, you know, I don't know if it's like an American director thinking that that's what us Brits say all the time, but they say it a lot in this film. I swear to God. We've just been introduced to Stephen Fry's character. Again, another national treasure. Some great British talent in this film. Stephen Fry's just great. He's fantastic in this film. So it says in the top left corner, I have 2 people watching. I don't know if I'm included as one of those people. We'll find out, I guess. This is Storm Saxon. That'd be something like I'd watch, some trash TV, like some really like dodgy action adventure series like Doctor Who or something. I'm going to incur the wrath of like all the Doctor Who fans now by saying it's some dodgy action series. I was going to say, I don't actually have a Guy Fawkes mask. I think if I wore that on a live stream, someone would probably think that Anonymous was just, you know, taking over the world again, chatting some shit. Yeah, like they mentioned that the black bags, people getting black bagged and, you know, taken away to interrogation or death camps or whatever. The black bags I know don't feature in the graphic novel, and they were introduced into this again following the whole stuff post 9/11, Guantanamo Bay and things that surfaced around that with the black bag. So that was an element that they wanted to bring in. As far as I understand, the Wachowskis actually were penning a script for this thing in the 90s. They were big fans of V for Vendetta, the graphic novel, and they penned, as far as I'm aware, a screenplay that was very, very similar to the source material itself. And then probably after they finished The Matrix, after things happened in the world and they were getting back into the project, they chose to modernize it in order to bring in some of these real world political situations. And that's, as I said, like, I'm a big fan of that. I'm glad they did that because it helped modernize it. I don't think that a film like this would go over well. I'm not saying it would be bad, because of course you can have like a period piece film, but I think that the themes for when the graphic novel was written was important for that time, you know, like the Thatcher regime and everything. And that was a sort of a biting political statement towards that stuff that was going on at the time. Whereas with a film, you've got to modernize it. You know, I think maybe some elements of the action in this film, whilst it's cool, does feel very heightened, and that's to me the stuff that sticks out the most in this film. In being moderately out of place is the really over the top slow mo bullet time kind of action, the hyper violent stuff. It's just, you know, it's kind of, you can tell that that's because it's the Wachowskis and everything like that, and even probably the director. I know that James McTeigue directed I haven't seen any of his other films, I don't think, but I know that the film that he made following this in 2009 was Ninja Assassin. I remember trailers coming out for that thing being very, very similar in terms of the action to this film. So we're about 18 minutes 30 in right now. I think we're about to get a speech from V. Yeah. This is important. And he says, there is something very wrong with this country, isn't there? I'm like, oh, you don't know the half of it. It's an absolute... I don't know what it's like in the US at the moment, although I can pretty much gather it's an absolute circus, as it is over here, so... As I say, I'll try and not get too political on this. We try and remain as apolitical as possible as we can on the channel, so I'm going to honor that. And, you know, this is how it is, you know, like freedom of speech and things like that, that, you know, that people are getting shut down from like speaking out about things. And try and not get too tinfoil hatty or conspiracy theory. I'm going to try and rein it back. It's all good. And apparently this is sort of a big change from the graphic novel as well, when V broadcasts his message to the world in this moment. Here it seems very compassionate, like he doesn't blame the people for being coerced or seeking leadership or guidance after all these trying times. But he's just kind of reminding them of their complacence and that, you know, they should do something about it. We need trying to make them aware of the reality that's around them. And it seems like quite compassionate, like, take my hand and I will guide you. I think this is where he says, like, if you feel as I feel, if you see as I see. Or is that later on in the film? I think it might be this bit. But I think, according to the graphic novel, he's actually quite condescending to them. He talks down to them a lot. He almost chastises them. He's almost like an angry father saying, you know, why haven't you done this? You're all idiots. Like, you should follow me. And I like the take of it more in this film, I think, in this respect. Oh, Hugo Weaving, just every time, Mr. Anderson, and again, worked on the Matrix film, so I think that's probably a big reason as to why they drafted him onto this as well. Worked with the Wachowskis previously. And even Natalie Portman as well, as far as I'm aware. I think James McTeigue, the director of this film, was an assistant director on Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, and from there that's where he met Natalie Portman, so I think that's another reason why she was cast in this film. Tends to be how it goes in the movie industry, like, I know a guy, you know, friend of a friend or whatever, and people get cast that way. I love that V logo, so cool. So just for syncing, the terrorist has been shot, or so they think. But yeah, no, I do think it's a shame with Alan Moore, because I know that, he really values his writing and, his artistic integrity, and fair play to him for like taking his name off credits and things like that. Because usually authors, no matter if their works turned into like a really shitty TV show or shitty film, they always want that money, right? They always want that revenue from it, and he wants no part of that. He just wants, I don't even think he cares about films. It's just his written word. What his written is what it is, and nothing else. Nothing can be adapted from it. It is as it is, and I can respect that. Although I do think it's a shame, because I do think that this, apparently he did read the screenplay to this film and said it was rubbish, so he did give it a shot. He did read it. And even Watchmen, like, I'm a big fan of Zack Snyder's Watchmen film as well, based on another Alan Moore graphic novel. That's more of a line for line, page for page remake of the graphic novel. So it's very faithful in that respect. It does miss out a few things though that I think that strengthen the graphic novel. And I think maybe it missed a little bit of the heart. It was reading from the lines of the script essentially, but it wasn't making us feel those moments. It was all about the imagery, but again, that's kind of like Zack Snyder, really, isn't it? So I always wondered how I'd act in a bomb disposal situation, because I'm never very, if I'm faced with like a bunch of decisions, I always tend to make the wrong one. So I think I'd end up like blowing up the building or something. Playing Operation as a kid, I'd always accidentally touch the sides. I say this would be a very, very different film right now if V got shot, because he made a mistake. He fucks up in this moment. This is just pure luck, pure coincidence that Evie shows up. And I think they do play around with that as well. It's almost like, is this fate? Was this meant to happen in this way? I think usually films like that, where it's just really convenient, where someone just shows up out of nowhere and saves a character, that can get old very quickly. But I think this film, it doesn't explicitly go into it, but I think it does deal with that theme of chance, and this was meant to be, and predestiny, and it's almost like Evie was chosen to be his apprentice. See, I'm surprised that the news would show stuff like this. Maybe this is set in the future. Maybe we get to see sort of more gun violence on screen. Are we about to have our first bollocks? Bollocks. And I do like how this film does focus on that family as well, especially, like the girl with the glasses, and it follows her in some scenes, especially the crowd scenes, and it's sort of it helps it ground it to these sort of side characters that don't really get a lot to do, but it just shows sort of like the progress as the film evolves. And I think I read somewhere that thematically, I mean, this will come up much later in the film, where V is a big his favorite film is The Count of Monte Cristo, and he shows it Evie later on in the film, and there are a lot of parallels between Edmond Dantes' character from Count of Monte Cristo that you can compare to V himself. I've never read The Count of Monte Cristo. I've never seen The Count of Monte Cristo, but from what I understand, it's about a guy who gets wrongfully imprisoned and treated horribly. He escapes, and then he's trying to exact revenge on the people who put him in prison in the first place. It almost an exact parallel to V's character in this film. Where he breaks out of the death camps, the experimentation, and now he's one by one trying to get revenge on all the people that created this whole situation and did all these horrible atrocities. But the parallel here, especially with Evie sort of being in this environment, being taken back to a lair from a masked man who's trying to teach her a different way, and not brainwash her, I guess, but sort of bring around to a different way of thinking. It's very Phantom of the Opera, which is my favorite musical. I love Phantom of the Opera. And I think especially with this, I'm not sure the graphic novel, again, because I haven't read it, but I think that they probably play up the relationship aspect a lot more with this film than they do in the graphic novel. It's almost like it's this doomed love. Like there's that connection there. There's that intense connection between these people. But it's ultimately, and again, it parallels to the first scene with Guy Fawkes and his wife watching from the crowd. It's the penance for having this goal, having this idea, and that's stronger than a person. That's stronger than love. That's stronger than anything, because that's going to be the thing that ultimately endures. And I've just like spoiled the end of the film. I've been doing a lot of talking, so I might need to take a few more water breaks. What do we think to the hair? What I mean, V's rocking that sweet fringe, just and then the curtains. I've always thought, should I do a cosplay of V? It's quite a cliched one, though. I think a lot of people do it, and I'm not sure I could rock a fringe like that. Got the hair length, could probably do it, but I ain't gonna have that fringe. You couldn't pay me any money in the world to have a fringe like that. I've officially run out of things to talk about. I am now talking about hairstyles. It's just like, oh, women. So we are exactly half hour in now, 30 minutes. I've always thought this looks absolutely delicious. I have not those hands. The hands don't look delicious. The first time I watched this, I thought he was wearing gloves, like marigolds, like pink washing up gloves. And then I was like, oh, that's his skin. I think it's like that shot there, the wide shot where he's in the very sort of feminine, flowery apron. The gloves would just complement that look, I guess, that kind of like housewife look. But that eggy bread just, oh. And this is an interesting narrative thing they do with the eggy bread, because it's brought up later on in the film by Stephen Fry's character. And it's almost said in exactly the same way from the dialogue here. So it's just further strengthening those parallels that, it's almost like V is an idea more than a man. Like he is a man, he is an individual, he has a past. It's the whole story of this thing. But there's little moments like that where you have that bleed, that crossover of elements between characters, where it muddies the waters a little bit. And I quite like that, because it adds that sense that everyone has elements of V or has the potential to be V. I tell you what, though, I'd need one more slice of bread than that. Just one bit of bread with one egg? Like, no. I'm a growing boy. I need more slices of toast than that. Oh, that looks so good. I could eat some toast now, actually. But carbs after 9 p.m. Can we do that? Is that allowed? Is that legal? Awkward. Don't you just love those situations where you really put your foot in it and you just want the ground to swallow you up? And it's like, where is your mother now? She's dead. Shit. Then you've got to do the whole, oh, I'm really sorry. They're governments. Governments should be afraid of their people. That's one of my favorite lines in the film. Okay, we apparently have 4 people in now. We have 4 people watching. As I said, get commenting. Let's get a conversation going. This is going to be like just a chill hangout as well. Drop in which trivia I know from the film, but this is just open conversation. Let's just get chatting. Let's just enjoy the movie. So I know the death of this character is different from the graphic novel, to my understanding. In this film, he's just he's given loads of pills, and we just see him dead the next morning. But in the graphic novel, as far as I'm aware, this character collects dolls. I don't quite know why. He's just fixated with this doll collection that he has, and V shows up because this guy's basically the voice. This guy's the mouth. He is the voice of this dictatorship, on the news, giving these rousing speeches, these hate-filled, homophobic, just racist speeches that he is on the BTN. And as the voice in the graphic novel, V burns these dolls. I think he sets them up to look like the victims from basically the concentration camp that V went to. And he burns all the dolls in front of him, which sends him in a completely catatonic state where he physically can't talk. He goes absolutely mad, and he has to be taken to an asylum. And all he can say is "mama." And I quite like that in the context of the graphic novel, because the voice of Britain loses his voice. He is useless to them now in the government. He's gone completely tonto. They make it a bit more simpler in the film by just having V show up and just kill him. Tell you what, though, that's a hell of a shower, isn't it? Like, Jesus, talk about a walk-in shower. That's like a room. And I love the the color palette of this film as well. It's a lot of those sort of like harsh blacks and the grays, and it just adds that sort of like dystopian quality to it, that very sort of run down, tyrannical kind of, monolithic government. I just like it. It just works really well, I think. And the cinematography from this film as well, I needed to mention this. So Adrian Biddle was the cinematographer for this thing, who actually died, as far as I'm aware, like a few days, 4 days maybe, before the world premiere of the film. So this was obviously like the last film that he worked on. But I've checked that guy's credits as a cinematographer, and the guy's worked on some epic films, like some really, really big films, like throughout the 80s and the 90s, like some of my favorite films. Aliens was the first project that he worked on. Like, talk about an amazing opening film, right, to work on. Aliens, James Cameron, Jesus. The Princess Bride, Willow, like all of these, like some of my favorite 80s films. Moving into the 90s, you've got Thelma and Louise, Judge Dredd, Event Horizon, The Mummy Returns. I love those films as well. So, hell of a career. And every time I watch this film, and it always gets to this bit, I'm like, I really need to watch The Count of Monte Cristo. At some point, I will watch The Count of Monte Cristo. And years go by, and here I am, another 365 days, watch countless movies, not as many this year because of Corona, and I still haven't watched The Count of Monte Cristo. I'm assuming it's one of those films where you've probably got multiple versions of it, and it's, which one do you watch? I'd probably watch the one from this one. So this is like one of the biggest parallels, and why I was really looking forward to watching this film again this year in different contexts. So we just had the hint of it there. It'll get more into it, and as the film continues. So this is like set in. I've heard some people say it's set in 2020. Wikipedia has it down as 2027. Either way, it doesn't matter. But the St. Mary's virus in this, which sweeps across the UK, conservative government, mass panic, blown up by the media, scaremongering, everything like that. It's there's so many parallels you can draw from it, like this devastating virus, this airborne virus. A vaccine rolled out, which we'll get next year. There are so many things you can link to this film. And it's actually quite scary how we have had that. We had the riots earlier in the year as well. Not to say that the riots are done for exactly the same reason in this, but, you're going against that established order kind of thing, against the police, against, the law, all of that stuff. Even completely different context, but if you're going to read into it and look at all the parallels from this year, especially when we get towards the end of the film and, everyone's wearing masks. It's it's done more for an image in this, whereas we're doing it as like a functional thing to prevent the risk of spreading corona. So, but I don't know, there's just little bits like that where... And here we have sort of Evie seeing really what V is capable of. Like he plays, he's sort of like the homely guy. He'll make a breakfast, they'll watch films together. He's very well spoken, he's very charismatic and charming. He's very charming. And then she's always hit with the reality that he went out and killed this guy. Like, he is a murderer. He's doing it for his own agenda and for anarchy, essentially, and to overthrow the government and to get revenge on them. But he is a murderer. And I think that Evie brings a nice balance to this film, especially within moments like this, where although by the end of the movie, she does have this deep connection with V and does fulfill his legacy, we don't know what she will continue to do following that film. She might just, give it all up. She helped V achieve what he wanted to do, and that's it. She may continue and be the new V and be this sort of like Batman watchful protector. But I think that the way Natalie Portman plays it and the way that her character's written specifically in this film adds that really sort of like softer edge. V is the very violent one that will go in and murder a whole room full of people, whereas Evie seems more pragmatic. Like, she'll think about it more and the repercussions of it and the emotional qualities to it. And I think that by the end of the film, the two really do come together and help complement each other in that way. It's almost like the missing half that V was looking for his revolution. And I thought that was played very well. Evie, completely different character in the graphic novel, as far as I'm aware. When we're introduced to her in this film, at the beginning, where she's assaulted by the Fingermen, she just leaves the house because she wanted to go and see a friend. She wanted to break curfew and go and see a friend, whereas in the graphic novel, I believe she's a 16-year-old prostitute who approaches them for sex. And then, things get out of hand, and then that's when V comes and rescues her. Completely different character. And you couldn't have done that in a film. You absolutely could not have done that in a film in any way like that. It just goes to show those two different, very different sides to it. We've got Stephen Housley. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, mate. This seems eerily more relevant during these current times. On a side note, have you seen Action Jackson? I haven't seen Action Jackson, actually. That is on my ever-increasing list of films to watch. Or is that a TV show? I am going to Google that. I have heard of it. I promise I know what it is. It's probably a film as well. Yeah, so there's the 1988 film and the 2014 film, which I'm assuming is some kind of really probably bad remake. No, I haven't watched it, but yeah, this was one of the reasons, though, I wanted to do this commentary tonight. I was going to watch this film anyway, and I just thought, I'm going to, let's all enjoy the film together and talk about it. But yeah, absolutely. Especially now, this bit, the riots that she's seeing on TV. And the curfews as well that I just mentioned. The curfews, I mentioned this at the beginning, as of midnight tonight, we are in another nationwide lockdown. Curfews are a real thing, bars closing at 10, restaurants being closed completely. You can't go out unless it's, your bubble of 6 people or whatever it was. The rules were changing every single day, but I think this film will be timeless, but especially this year, this film really does hit differently this year, I think. So for syncing up with time, I am almost coming up to 43 minutes. I'm on 42 minutes and 45 seconds. We're just going into Evie's backstory right now, how she's politically minded. And again, another parallel between the two. This political situation has influenced these people in very similar ways, but also very different ways. With V, you know, he was there. He was in the camps. He was being experimented on. All these horrible things. He was witnessing everyone he cared about die around him. People that he was, you know, having a bond with. All these innocent people just because they were, you know, they were gay or they were of a different race, a different religion. Whereas Evie, you know, her parents were very politically minded and got black bagged, so that could help the reason as to why she's distanced herself from politics, you know, because she's been scared by this faceless organization, this dictatorship that's currently ruling Britain. But we are seeing things like that, you know, like the government. Again, I don't want to make this too political, but I think it's inevitable with everything that's going on. And I'm not a politically minded person by any stretch of the imagination, so I don't know all the facts and figures. I couldn't sit here and talk about politics with you for hours and hours. I'm very much sort of removed from it as much as possible. But as far as I'm aware, you know, the government extending their power in imposing these limitations on people. Yes, we know it's due to coronavirus and to keep the numbers down, but that's, you know, if you believe that the numbers are being falsified or the media is blowing it out of proportion, scaremongering, you know, that all these things to take into account. But we're seeing it now. The US elections. I don't know who's winning. I haven't been checking in to see what's happening with that. It just looks like a circus. You've got Trump saying that he wants votes recounting and possible refusal to leave and, you know, cheating the way to the top, whatever it happens to be. It's it's all going on this year, isn't it? Hey, we have Carl. Nice to see you, man. Thanks for jumping on. It's hard not to be political with everything that's going on. Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, we always try and we might sneak like the occasional political statement in there in some of our live streams and our reviews and everything, but we always do try and not really get into politics. It's always the big two topics, right, to never bring up in conversation: politics and religion. And speaking of religion, we've just cut to the paedophile priest right now in a very weird segue. But we just try and keep removed from it, not talk about it as much on the channel because everyone has different political opinions. You can't please everyone. We don't want to cause any kind of tension, you know, between comments or with us or anything like that. So that's why we're just a movie channel. Okay. We just love movies. We love talking movies, but you know, there are some things that you can't overlook especially regarding this film, for example. Hey, we have people now. We have Claudia as well. Claudia, I'm not watching along because I don't own this film. I watched it in the cinema when it came out and I fell in love with V's character that I felt completely pathetic. Oh, you should feel pathetic because you like V's character. I love V's character. I hope I'm not the only one that finds him absolutely sexy. That's where we differ. I must admit, I don't really want to get into V's pants, but maybe, you know, it's the mask, it's the cape, it's the tall, dark, and I'm sure he was handsome, maybe. I mean, he was horrifically burnt. I don't know. He's got a bit of Anakin Skywalker going on, I suppose. So I'm just not going to comment about Natalie Portman and her outfit right now, given the context of this scene. So you know what? We're just gonna chat in the comments. But Claudia, you mentioned seeing this in the cinema when it came out. I didn't see this in the cinema when it came out. I first watched this on TV years ago now. I saw it on TV. It was probably around Bonfire Night, Guy Fawkes Night, and it was a film that I was aware of. It was a comic book adaptation, and I just liked the character looked cool, and I thought, you know, I'll give it a shot. I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't really know what it was about, in all honesty. And I was blown away by it the first time I watched it. I absolutely loved it. And it's just a film that gets better and better the more times I watch it, especially when you are wrapped in this world, you know, political climate and everything. That really does help enhance. This is almost like a catharsis in many ways, this film, I see it as. It's got like a good biting political commentary. And yeah, no, I just loved it. And actually, I was meant to be seeing this at the cinema tomorrow. My local cinema. This was the ultimate dilemma I had, guys, right? So V for Vendetta was playing on the 30th of October, which makes no sense. I don't know what relevance they would have to play that film on the 30th of October, the day before Halloween. And they were playing it on November the 5th. So it was playing on 2 days. There was 2 opportunities to see V for Vendetta at the cinema. They were also playing the original Evil Dead film, Sam Raimi film, a film that I've never seen on the big screen before. I mean, I love Evil Dead. Of course, I've seen Evil Dead, but I like going to see these older films at the cinema. And that was only playing on November the 5th. Evil Dead was only playing on November the 5th. And it clashed at exactly the same time as V for Vendetta. So I had 2 choices. I could go and see V for Vendetta on the 30th, so I could see it on the big screen. And then I could go and see Evil Dead on the 5th of November, so I could see both of them on the big screen, and there wouldn't be any overlap. But I couldn't bring myself to do it, because why on earth would you watch V for Vendetta on the 30th of October? Like, it's just that's unheard of. Like, you have to see that on the 5th. So, I thought maybe there'll be another chance where I can watch Evil Dead at the cinema some point. So I went ahead and booked tickets for V for Vendetta for tomorrow. And of course, the government said a swift fuck you, and I will now not be going to the cinema tomorrow due to a nationwide lockdown. So here we are. I'm still watching the film, although it would have been great to have seen it on the big screen. Just going back to the comments, Claudia says, it's the voice. Yep, Hugo Weaving's got that voice. Carl says, I wasn't prepared for the voice. It was completely different for what I was expecting, but it fit perfectly. What I do want to say is, Carl, have you actually have you read the graphic novel? Did you have a different voice in mind? Are you talking about from reading the graphic novel originally to before you saw the film, you were expecting a different voice? Or was it just from seeing pictures of the character from the film, you expected a different voice before you saw the film? It'd be interesting to hear if you've read it or not. Claudia says, I absolutely loved it and didn't know anything about the character. Exactly the same. I do keep telling myself that I do want to read the graphic novel. I know that, as I mentioned, they're 2 completely different animals, so far removed from each other. Possibly thematically similar, but definitely in the context of the characters, side characters, and how certain characters act. I think V is a very, very different character in the film as he is to the graphic novel. I'd love to read it at some point. I did read Watchmen, though, before seeing the film. I will give myself a pat on the back for that. I remember when the film was coming out and I was reading a lot online that it's a very out there concept and you might actually benefit from having some prior knowledge of Watchmen by reading the graphic novel. So I went and bought it the week before the film came out. I didn't get to see the film at the cinema because I wasn't 18 at the time. And of course, it was rated R for anyone in the States. So I read the graphic novel, loved it, and I think I came into contact with a copy. I got a hold of a copy somehow, and I watched it, and I loved it. It was straight from the page. Absolutely loved Watchmen. I've never actually seen the director's cut. I'm aware of some of the additional scenes of the director's cut, and I've also never seen the ultimate cut with the Tales of the Black Freighter animated segments thrown in as well. So we're just on Stephen Fry at the moment, just going back to the film. So 51 minutes, 30 seconds. And I liked how they brought this into it. So obviously Stephen Fry, a gay man in real life, they bring that element to his character here. So this, I'm sure this would have been like a personal thing for him. And you really get that sense of it in the performance here. Like any prejudice that may have been thrown at him before, like growing up or whatever. Just going to take another water break, folks. Again, like another, that was probably more on the nose, that one, the symbolism there about wearing a mask, but I don't know. I like that stuff when it all filters into the theme of the whole. I really do appreciate that. So Cole says, yes, from reading the novel, the voice I had in my head was deeper and more aggressive, but the calm and calculated fit perfectly. And I mean, you've read the graphic novel, I haven't, but from what I understand, V is a much more aggressive character. He's much more tunnel visioned in the graphic novel than he is in the film. I think they humanize him a lot more in the film. They really sort of go into the man, the individual that he was behind the mask. You don't see him. You don't see like a physical representation of him. The only thing that you see is hands and the silhouette when he comes out in the fire, which is one of my favorite shots in the film. But we don't really get that personal, vision of him, that expression of him. It's more just the idea, but the whole relationship with Evie and the moment later, which is one of my favorite moments, where she leaves him and he smashes. It's like the Kylo Ren thing, right? When he smashes the mirror with the mask and he just starts crying. One of my favorite scenes. So I think that the calm and calculated did add that different layer to the character, but they still maintained some of the same thematic material of the character, which I appreciated. As far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, because I mean you've read the damn thing, so you know more about it than I do. Claudia, when I saw the movie, I didn't even know they were holding back compared to the graphic novel. I thought the movie was very powerful. It absolutely is, and I think like the graphic novel is a product of its time. Not to say that it doesn't have any relevance now; it absolutely does. But it was very much written with that Thatcher regime in mind and the current political situation during the early to late 80s. And actually, that probably influenced and helped write the graphic novel. I thought it just came out as one complete story, but it came out in multiple volumes. That's one of my favorite shots in the film right there. Love that. Love that so much. It just really shows that almost like ghostly, phantom-like ninja quality that V has, where it's that wide shot of the bedroom and the lighting just changes and you just get that glimpse of him in the corner in the dark. I love that. And again, like here, it's another moment that shows his compassion more. I think out of all the people he's trying to get his revenge on, and of course this person's absolutely horrible, the stuff that she helped play a part in, with the camps and the pharmaceuticals and everything that went along with it there. But she's the only one that shows any kind of real regret. She tried to make, a different career path. She left it. But V never forgets, and he has a right to never forget. So although he does kill her in this scene, it's in that compassionate way. Like I think he says in a minute, I killed you 10 minutes ago, and it's painless. I think he like poisons her, doesn't he? But this is quite a nice moment. So I'm guessing that it's scenes like this, it's moments like this that are absent from the graphic novel, where V is this much more ruthless figure. I like the visual signifier of the roses as well, because later in the film we find that it's tied to the I forgot her name. It's the lesbian couple when Natalie Portman's in the jail cell and she gets the notes fed through to her. One of the people that was also in the concentration camp, and she used to grow those in the sort of like the window box, didn't she? And I think there's just something so cool about that. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Sorry. I think there's something quite poetic about that as well. I'm trying to think of other films where I've seen that, where someone dies and they lay a single rose on them. I think the one that's coming to mind is Kingpin from the Ben Affleck Daredevil film, which is a film that I actually really like. That I think that's one where he puts a rose on the dead body. I don't know. Think back to like Michael Keaton's Batman, where he goes to the spot where his parents were killed and lays the roses on the floor. I don't know. It's just I quite like that in films. It's nice visual, I guess. Cole, like you, Chris, I had a ticket to see this at my local cinema tomorrow night. Oh god, I am losing my voice. But it was cancelled. So thanks for hosting tonight. You're welcome, man. I know that it's not the big screen experience we were wanting, but it's the one that we're getting. So at least we're watching the movie, right? Plus, I would never have forgiven myself this year if I hadn't have watched this film this year, because we need this film more than ever this year. We really do. Speaking of which, for the UK viewers, I hope you're all doing good. Like, I know we're going into another lockdown. It's meant to be like a month-long lockdown again. So I hope you're all doing good, staying safe and just getting through it, because I know that it's trying times for everyone. Or maybe you're an introvert like me and you're just like, yeah, this is fine. This is fine. I get to catch up with more movies. So going into the backstory now, I might just take a pause and listen to this for a second. Here we go, the masks. Here we go, look at this. This is the new look, isn't it? By the way, guys, I'm going to show you my mask. Would you like to see my mask? I feel like Scarecrow from Batman Begins. So it's not a mask, it's a snood, but I'm counting it. It goes over my mouth and my nose, that counts, right? It actually could go over my full face if I want it to. Maybe we'll get to that stage if the virus gets worse, right? As Darth Vader. I think it's pretty cool. The only thing is I'm so OCD with it. I mean, you guys would be as well, right? You put this thing over your mouth, and if it's kind of askew, if it's kind of like around there like that, it's terrible. I have to always check myself out in a mirror, in a window. If I'm passing by something in the street, I have to just check that it's right. You have to roll it down. You have to get the nose piece. Whoa, where am I going? This way. No, this way. See, I can't do it. I can't do... Fuck it. You have to get the nose piece on the nose piece. I'm gonna do it. There you go. Like that. You have to, you know... What an exhilarating commentary, guys, right? Me trying to get a mask lined up on my damn face. So actually, I want to know if this is from the graphic novel, because I loved how they did that he was patient number 5, and it was done with Roman numerals on the door, V, and that's where he took that from. Here we go. This is one of my favorite shots from the film. I love how they keep him in shadow still. Oh, such a great shot. I hate you. You were my brother, V. I loved you. See, people are like pouring glasses of scotch. Like, I still have my gentleman's jack here. There's not much of it left. I'm not going to drink, though. This is not a drink along. Oh, here we go. The eggy bread again. Oh, it looks so nice. Claudia says, have you gotten comments about your mask? I actually haven't. But I thought if I'm going to be forced to wear a mask, I may as well do it in geeky style, right? As I always do. I was very torn when I was buying it. I did see a Joker one with a Joker mouth, but I thought if I wear that, someone will probably think that I'm going to try and rob a bank. There was a Bane one, which would have been pretty cool to wear. I'm not going to lie. I know I'm not a big fan of The Dark Knight Rises, but it would have been fun to wear a Bane one. Or there was the Vader one. So I thought, you know, Vader, the whole... the breathing apparatus, just it makes sense. Oh, Stephen Fry, so great. Here we go, St. Mary's virus. They talk about that the virus hits three key areas to sort of drum up the biggest amount of tragedy and to get people talking the most. There's a water treatment plant. I'm trying to remember back to the end of the film where he talks about it. A water treatment plant, a school, and something else as well. Carl, nothing changes for me. My employer is staying open. Work, home, and cinema savvy. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate the support. You're sticking around. You're one of the absolute diehards on this channel, so we do appreciate that. I'm glad to hear everything's all, a semblance of normality for you. So that's good. Claudia says, are people used to seeing Darth Vader masks in Britain or something? I've been the only one that I've seen. So, and I like being unique. So if everyone was wearing Darth Vader masks, I'd be like, I'm going to find a different mask. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to follow the trend. I've been the only one. A lot of people are wearing the proper ones. I mean, is there a definition of a proper mask? Like people wear stuff like that, like snoods. But no, I'm the only one who's been wearing a Darth Vader one, as far as I'm aware, of people that I've seen. The typical default ones are like the blue ones with the things that hook over your ears, and if you're wearing them for like more than an hour, they start to like dig into the back of your ears. They're really uncomfortable. This is just great because we're moving into winter now. It gets colder. I really feel the cold, and there's nothing worse than when like your face is cold. So and this really helps. It really helps. So saving my life against Corona and keeping me warm in the winter months. So it's a win-win. And it's Vader. So it's the triple whammy. I promise I'm not endorsed by the guys that sold me that mask. There we go. No one cared who I was till I put on the mask. I might buy it. I might have a spare. When that one's in the wash, I can wear my Bane one. I mean, in all honesty, you can probably get like all different kinds of ones. There's probably a V for Vendetta one. I was actually surprised that there wasn't. I mean, this isn't an official released Disney one, like a Darth Vader design. This was just like a custom one someone's done. Disney have hoarded out the merchandise for Star Wars. Everything. Star Wars, a bag of tangerines from the supermarket with BB-8 stuck on the front. Pez dispensers. Everything you can think of, they've done Star Wars. But as far as I'm aware, they haven't done Star Wars face masks, unless they have now, with Corona being like, an increasingly bigger thing as the years gone on. Maybe they've jumped on that bandwagon. But this is one of my favorite bits from the film. It does kind of make Stephen Fry's character very stupid in this moment. I've seen the argument made. It goes into almost like a Benny Hill kind of sketch, this political satire where they kill the Chancellor. It's kind of weird actually, because it's still John Hurt when it's meant to be an actor portraying him, even though he looks exactly the same. Because it is the same, it's still John Hurt, but they're putting on this biting political satire on the TV, which is this big no-no. You're not meant to do that. So he's completely breaking regulations. But he is immediately putting himself in the limelight. So I don't know if his character just thinks that people need to see this. And again, he's this very selfless character, sacrifices himself for his beliefs. That conversation that, he says that you become tired of wearing a mask, that you forget who you are, who you are underneath. So maybe this was just his way of saying, this is who I am. This is what it's all about. The people need to see this. And if I die, then if I get taken away, then so be it, because, I don't want to live a lie anymore. I'm assuming that's what it is. So the glass of milk that, I don't know if that's the Chancellor watching that with the milk. I can't remember, but, I don't know if that's meant to be sort of like an Oedipus complex, like, like mother's milk kind of thing, that it's very childlike. Maybe it's a Clockwork Orange thing. Also a dystopian film. Who knows? But here we go. The Benny Hill theme's just kicked in. Just go back to the comments. Carl says, I've only seen one other Vader mask and we both gave a nod of respect to each other as we passed. That's awesome. That's so cool. I've seen some Baby Yoda masks today. Oh, there you go. Yeah, we need more Baby Yoda merchandise. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. By the way, speaking of Baby Yoda, Mandalorian discussion coming this Friday, episode 2, chapter 10 in the grand scheme of things, but episode 2 of season 2. Me and George will be on at 10 p.m. GMT, British time, to discuss the new episode of Mando. Very much looking forward to it. Shameless plug. Claudia says, it hurt when you said Disney one. I keep wanting to forget Disney, Star Wars. Oh, Star Wars is a Disney property. Mandalorian's back now, so whilst I agree with you completely, and to me, episode 7, 8, and 9 didn't happen at all. I'm just wiping it from my headcanon. The headcanon is a fun place. The headcanon is a place where artistic integrity and story and everything prevails, and everyone's happy, and it's just the select things that you like. You like the special edition of Empire Strikes Back, but you don't like that one change. Guess what? In your headcanon, it's still the original version of that one change. In your headcanon, you can have the Indiana Jones trilogy and not Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. In your headcanon, we have the 6 Star Wars films and nothing else. It's a fun place. So in the film right now, we're just having Stephen Fry's character. Oh, that always looks horrible. That hit there where it busts his lip open. Just imagine how sore that would be. Like, Jesus. Funny now, is it? Funny, man. I mean, shit, imagine the trauma there for, like, Natalie Portman's character who saw exactly the same thing happen to her parents earlier on. Like, Jesus. We are coming up to a big chunk of the film right now where for, like, the next 10 or 15 minutes, it's going to be on this scene. And I think that this whole next segment of this film is astounding. It could almost be a short film within itself. It's incredible. The music as well. I need to bring up the composer's name. Dario Marianelli. He's done some films that I've seen. Kubo and the Two Strings, for example, is probably one of the most the scores that I'm aware of him. I think he did. I think he got the Academy Award for Atonement as well. But the music in a moment where it goes into this woman's past, it's beautiful. It reminds me of something from like Shawshank Redemption or The Green Mile. It's absolutely astounding. Claudia says, John Hurt is one of my favorite actors. How could he be so good? Amazing actor. I know completely. He was incredible. Did John Hurt ever win an Oscar? I can't remember. I know that, you know, for the longest time, there were the people saying that, you know, like, oh, Gary Oldman's never won an Oscar. That was before he did The Darkest Hour, where, of course, he finally won one. But as far as I'm aware, I don't think John Hurt won one. Or did he win one for The Elephant Man? I can't remember. But yeah, no, tremendous actor. It was a really, really sad, you know, it was a really tragic loss when he died. Carl says, still amazes me how the company that made the interconnected world of the Marvel movies are the same people, who made the current Star Wars film that were completely disconnected. How did that happen? Different team. I mean, they're all sort of under the Disney brand. The oversee, which is a scarier dictator, John Hurt in this film or the mouse? But yeah, I think it was just a different team, different producers, and Marvel didn't have Kathleen Kennedy on board. You know, I think with Marvel, say what you want about the Marvel films, you know, the cookie cutter formula, they're very samey. They don't really take many chances. You've got that humor thrown into them, but they had a plan. And even if they didn't have a plan at the beginning, they found a way to make a plan and make it work. I think Kevin Feige is definitely is a big reason as to the success of the MCU, overseeing everything. And not to say that you didn't have someone overseeing the new Star Wars films. Of course, you did with Kathleen Kennedy. But I think I don't want to turn this into a Star Wars review. But I mean, we are, you know, it is just sort of shooting the. Oh God, it's a rat. Oh, my biggest phobia are rats. Don't like rats. You can't see my feet right now, but I've sort of elevated them off the ground. Do not like rats. I just made my skin crawl. I clicked on the video at the wrong time. But I think that... okay, focus, Chris, focus. There you go. There's an insight into a bit about me. Can't stand rats. I'm terrified of them. If a rat ran in here right now, I would be on camera live screaming. I'd be standing on this chair or the desk screaming. But yeah, you know, like Kathleen Kennedy, I think she brought too much of, you know, her politics into it. I don't think inherently she's a Star Wars fan. You needed that kind of, and we're talking about this now, and thankfully we're seeing it more now with Mandalorian. I'm kind of with you. Like I am a Mandalorian fan. I look forward to it. I don't think it's a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but I just enjoy watching it. And I definitely think it's a step in the right direction. I think you needed like a John Favreau or a not a Kevin Feige, sorry, Dave Filoni overseeing it, who is a fan, who knows the material, who's passionate about the material, and can oversee the entire project and do it justice. Oh, there we go. Sorry, yeah. Claudia says he won the BAFTA but not the Oscar, referring to John Hurt and Carl. Yeah, he was only nominated. The guy's done so many great. How he didn't win for Elephant Man. You know, Alien. He was great. Even in the Harry Potter films, you know, for the short amount of screen time, he just has such a presence, and the way that he acts the lines and everything is just. He was a tremendous talent. This is my favorite scene. This whole moment, as I mentioned, is my favorite thing in the film. It's beautiful. And as far as I'm aware, this is almost, I think, more or less word for word from the graphic novel, this whole moment. And the function of this scene as well. And the story kind of, you know, we're having a breather, we're having this huge pivotal transformation in Evie's character, so they absolutely needed to nail this whole segment, and they do it through telling this story, which not only works into the history of V, where this lady was the woman in the opposite cell to him, and he was given a note either identical or similar to this. So he created that bond with her. He may have never seen her, but he understood it. You know, by reading her memoirs, he understood her. And he shares this with Evie so that she has the same experience with it. But even for us as an audience, you know, by seeing it, you know, audio, visual, it's read beautifully as well. It's acted beautifully by the actress playing the I don't know the actress who's playing the character. And we become engrossed into it. It really, you know, it goes on. This is like a 5 to 10 minute segment where we are just spending time with this character, a character who's not inherently related to the main narrative that's going on, but is so involved in the actual plot and integral. Without this scene, the film doesn't work. And the cinematography here, I mean, look at this, the colors. And it's because we have those very dark colors, those grays throughout the film. When you're hit with a sudden burst of color, you know, the oversaturation and the bright lighting, that juxtaposition really just brings out the emotion in this. Look at that shot there. It's just the kiss with the with sort of like the lens flare coming through of the sun. It's beautiful. And, you know, I think if we are comparing this to sort of other Alan Moore adaptations, From Hell is a film that I've only seen once, and I was very young. I thought it was just, oh, you know, it's a horror film. I was kind of fascinated by Jack the Ripper, even, you know, from a younger age. I used to get textbooks. I loved history. I found it fascinating. So, but I remembered not liking the film. There was something about the film, and I haven't read the graphic novel again. I'm assuming it's completely different, misses the point of it. But the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen one was a film that I think I own on DVD still somewhere, and it was fine to watch. It was kind of that Sunday evening kind of movie. It would be on the TV around, you know, like 5 p.m. or whatever, and you'd watch it. It killed 2 hours. You know, it was fine, and I liked the literature characters. You know, Captain Nemo, Dorian Gray, is it Victor? Not Victor Quartermain. It is Victor Quartermain, isn't it? I think Sean Connery's character. Tom Sawyer, the Invisible Man. I loved all of that stuff and seeing them all together, which inherently is the whole conceit of the graphic novel. But then I read the graphic novel and I saw even more characters in it and just completely different tone. And they actioned it up too much, I think, and it missed the point of it. And I'm talking over this beautiful scene, but yeah. I wanted to bring this up actually. The hair shaving. So we all know this anyway. Natalie Portman did that when they shave her hair in the film. That was them doing it in real time. That was done in the first take. And I actually think because she lost a lot of weight for it as well, especially for this moment, for this scene. And there's a scene in Revenge of the Sith where she's on a balcony and she's talking about fixing up the baby's room, and it's, you're so beautiful. It's only because I'm so in love. It's that scene there. And she looks visibly different. Her face looks a lot more thinner, a lot more gaunt. You can tell it's probably a wig. And I'm assuming that these were like reshoots that were done around this time. This film was coming out in 2005 and as was Revenge of the Sith. So it would have been filming around that time, or some pickup shots that might have needed doing last minute. Claudia says Game of Thrones season 8 episode 3 cinematographer could learn a thing or two about lighting this film. Do we have to talk about Game of Thrones season 8? I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't even want to think about it. It's the biggest waste of potential in TV history. It's absolutely damning. So I own season 1 to 7 in separate box sets. I actually haven't opened season 7 because I hated season 7, but I just wanted to buy it to add to the collection because I thought, no, it's all going to come together for season 8 and, I'll have the whole collection. I've outright point blank refused to buy season 8. And it's kind of left me in a weird state where I have all these Game of Thrones box sets on Blu-ray that are taking up space. And I'm never going to watch them again. I'm never going to have the inclination to watch Game of Thrones again, knowing where it ended. There's no point. So do I sell them? Will they sell? Will people want to buy separate box sets of Game of Thrones now a complete one exists? I don't know. Claudia says, I honestly think that this movie saved Portman's career. Her Padme was appalling. Asked me if you'd have said that before Disney Star Wars came out, then I would completely agree with you. And whilst I don't think the acting's astounding, some of it's objectively bad in the prequels. From the direction, the CGI, the script, I defy any actor to make that work. And we have to remember she was also very young when she signed on to that, when she did Phantom Menace. And if, they say, we want you to be one of the leads in a new Star Wars film, and it had been X amount of years and Star Wars was massive, it was going to be this huge film, you'd be insane to turn that down. So I'm guessing maybe as the films went on and Portman got older and her career kind of took off, maybe she kind of mentally checked out a little bit of the films. That's just speculation, though. But I've never been a massive fan of Natalie Portman. As an actress, she's always been fun. People always say, "Oh, she's great in Leon," and I'm like, "Yeah, that was at the beginning of her career. She's pretty good in this. This moment, this whole scene, really. Although I've said that the accent's not completely spot on, it's fine. It's serviceable. But the scene in a moment where she has an asthma attack and she, goes very childlike again, and her rebirth segment." Those are like acting moments that cements it for me. She was good in Black Swan, and more recently, I think the things that I've seen her in were Jackie, which, objectively a good performance, but it's a film that didn't really stick with me, and Annihilation, which actually I keep seeing that on Netflix, and I do want to give that film another rewatch. It's from the director of Ex Machina. And I remember thinking that the film itself was quite average, but I loved the ideas and the imagination behind it. It's like the entire last segment of the film really gave me 2001: A Space Odyssey vibes, with the places that it went to, with the complexity of its ideas. And speaking of Leon as well, I know that we're talking about it in here where, I just mentioned it and Claudia says that she was good in Leon. I think this film in particular has a lot of parallels as well to Leon. Maybe, again, another reason why she was cast, but this being brought into this different world and, forming this bond with this person who's quite violent and this completely different lifestyle than what she's used to, ultimately becoming like him. In fact, her character in that and sort of like her age in that is probably would link in more with Natalie Portman's character of, Evie in the graphic novel, where she is this, underage girl who gets brought into this world and is sort of brainwashed into this ideology. It taught me how to think, how to act, how to breathe. Oh, I love how he delivers that line. And, Hugo Weaving, phenomenal actor, phenomenal fucking actor. And, Lord of the Rings, you guys know, is my life's blood. Reading Tolkien on a constant... I said Tolkien? Reading Tolkien on a constant basis. I've watched those. I can quote those films word for word, behind the scenes, everything. Hugo Weaving, tremendous as Elrond, great in The Matrix. But his acting, I know that he would have acted these lines behind the mask, but the mask would have muffled the lines. And I know that he had to re-record every single line of dialogue in post-production in ADR. Now, as an actor, you've got to get that character through in voice only, in dialogue only. And you just think about that, like that is a really hard thing to do. Voice acting really is a trait unto itself. So not only did he act and portray the character and play the character, he then had to redo the performance in voice only. And, as I mentioned earlier, the expressionless mask, it's the voice that comes through. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. And it's Hugo Weaving's portrayal, absolutely tremendous actor. And as I'm sure Claudia can attest to this, you could listen to that voice all day. You really genuinely hang on his every word in this film, and that's tremendous. I know I've talked over that amazing moment there where he calms her down and, he says there, you faced your death, Evie. You can let go. You are calm. You are still. Carl says, it also reminded me of the film Contact. I actually haven't seen that film. So, this is your Shawshank Redemption moment, right? The camera panning up into the air as the rain just... I think the camera pans up in the air. No, maybe I am thinking of just Shawshank with that, but God is in the rain. The parallels, the shots, look at the cinematography here. This is mental. So the soundtrack to this film, I don't rate. It doesn't stand out in my mind. It filters mostly into background, but the music here, just powerhouse. Just this moment is gorgeous. And the parallel, V was born from fire. She's born from water. Oh, God. This is why I watch movies, folks. This stuff like this, it's so good. And, she nails it there, Portman. You believe it. It's such a pivotal moment for the character. Man, I want a jukebox in my room. Look at this. V's got... Tell me that... If you've got to stay in a place, I know it's underground and there's no, natural lighting and everything like that, and that would be horrible. But what a bachelor pad, right? Look at the artistry. If you're into that, statues, the films he's got, the jukebox, this guy's got it all. He'll even make it eggy bread in the morning as well. There you go, Claudia. He has a mask for the whole movie in V, and he has such a presence. Yeah, absolutely. That would be a good. I'm trying to think of some other ones now. Sort of like the best characters from behind a mask in film. You got Vader, V. I guess some people would argue Bane. The man in the iron mask, maybe. I don't know. That'd be an interesting one to think about. I'm trying to think if there's any more. There you go. Thank you, Carl, for checking that out. I'm going to bring this up in case anyone wants to buy it. And hey, we're moving into lockdown. I'm going to have loads of extra time to get my reading on. Although, as I said, I am slogging my way through a lot of Tolkien books at the moment. But Carl, just checked, and the graphic novel is £11 on Amazon. Thanks for checking that out. So, yeah, go and check that out. I might even pick up a copy as well because I've always been curious to read it. There you go, Spider-Man. Yeah, another masked character. Yeah. After Vader, I don't think there should be anyone else. That's a fair point. You go with, like, I suppose you got to go with, like, a lot of the horror mascots as well, right? Like Michael Myers, he's pretty iconic. Leatherface. Hannibal Lecter, there's one scene where he wears a mask. It's not really throughout the entire film. And I think, as far as I'm aware, and again, Carl, you can correct me if I'm wrong, this film limits it to a year. She is with, they time it identically, from the video he says, in a year's time, I want you all to sort of like march on Parliament. Natalie Portman's character Evie is with him for a year. I don't think the year of how much time she spends with him in the graphic novel is disclosed. I think it's just sort of like an indeterminate amount of time. She could have spent years with him, 5 years. I don't think it's ever like particularly said. This scene here, I love this moment. Yeah, he does use the mask. I did think it was like Kylo Ren. Oh, man. It's over now, the music of the night. Like, it's very Phantom of the Opera. Apologies for my singing. And this is a big change. Like, I understand, like, the necessity of a film. You've got to condense it. You've got to just sort of like tell the main narrative. When you've got a graphic novel, let alone a graphic novel that's told over multiple volumes, you can go more into side characters. But I know that a lot of these members on this, I guess it's like a council, small council, it goes into them a lot more. And I think their personalities are vastly changed from the graphic novel into the film, especially Stephen Rea's character. Oh my God, my voice is going to be gone by tomorrow, folks. I'm going to take another water break. I do apologize. I need some of that stuff that Andy Serkis drank on the set of the Lord of the Rings, the Gollum juice. What is it? Honey, hot water, syrup. I don't know what was in that thing. Ginger. I want them to remember why they need us. Oh, John Hurt. My God. I'd just be throwing all the Oscars at that man. And I did read this somewhere as well, that John Hurt's character in this film is called is it Adam Sutler? Is it Adam Sutler? I believe. Yeah, Adam Sutler. And some people have said it's very similar sounding to sort of like Adolf Hitler, Adam Sutler. I don't know. Maybe it's there, but the shouting and like the podium bashing that we get later on in the film in the flashback. Yeah, Claudia. Yeah, didn't you know? Yeah, the Wachowskis wrote the screenplay. It's it explains perhaps the casting of Hugo Weaving, who was brought on. I did mention this at the beginning of the stream, but I know that you didn't join. He was brought on really late in the game. They'd already started filming. They had a different actor on board, and that actor, I think, left about 4 weeks into filming or something like that. And then Hugo Weaving was a very last-minute addition, and I'm guessing that a lot of that had to do from the fact that the Wachowskis had worked with him on the Matrix trilogy. But yeah, and you can definitely see their fingerprints all over the. I know they've done like dystopian. They've done a lot of dystopian stuff, haven't they? I think has everything they've done been dystopian? They did. Did they direct Jupiter Ascending, or did they just write that? I forget. But Speed Racer, The Matrix. Cloud Atlas, like, damn, that's one of the biggest dystopian future movies. And then, of course, this one. And you can definitely see it in the action segments, especially when we get towards the end and you get that slow-mo bullet time that was made famous by The Matrix. This scene right here, folks, now I'm almost tempted to go silent for like the next 5 minutes or so. Please just watch this scene and just apply it to 2020. This is the walk-away scene, trust me, folks. So we're 133. Should we just put Boris Johnson's face over this guy right now? I'm not going to get political. I'm not going to get political. Here we go. So that's like America, biological weapons. Here we go. It's pretty eye-opening, isn't it, folks? Jesus. Elections, we've got them going on right now. And this will be what it is next year. We'll have the vaccine, the miracle vaccine that comes out. I promise I'm not going to get all conspiracy theory. This film hasn't helped. The fear. I love how he says that. Boom. Right. I'll start talking again now. That's one of my favorite scenes in the film, and I knew as I was coming up to do a watch along of this that this moment in particular is definitely going to be one of the ones that you can draw the most parallels to everything that's going on today. Which makes, because this is like a tradition of mine, as I said, like I watch this every single year without fail if I can. I wonder what, I mean, I don't want to jinx anything, you know, touch wood, everything's going to be fine. But in another year's time, when I watch this next year in 2021, what's the political landscape going to look like at that point? And will this film have any other parallels to things that are going on? And I'm sure it will. It's just been a particularly fast year for comparisons this year, I think. So I have my timer up here, folks, with the actual 24-hour clock time. So I'm on 23, 34, and 51 seconds. So we've got just over 25 minutes, and hopefully, if calculations are correct, we should hit the stroke of midnight at the prime moment. And I'm very glad that we've got some people in the comments now, you know, like Carl and Claudia, and we can see in the 5th of November together in style. How are you doing, Claudia? There's a lot of suave, charismatic, whispering Hugo Weaving voice going on right now. How you doing? Voila! In view, a humble vaudevillian veteran cast vicariously as both victim and villain by the vicissitudes of fate. And that's the only bit that I remember. So there's a new TV series coming. Well, I say new TV series, a reboot of a TV series that is near and dear to my heart, very nostalgic to me, and was around when I was a kid. Is actually coming back on Hulu on November 20th. It's the Animaniacs. It's 13 episodes now. I would quite like to do reviews of said episodes on the channel. I know we don't really go into TV all that much. We tend to focus on films mostly. I know that we make some exceptions. Would you guys be, first off, are you guys looking forward to Animaniacs? Do you even know what Animaniacs is? Would you like to see reviews on Animaniacs? Because I wouldn't mind talking about them. I'll be watching them. Just going to send this whizzing across the bottom. I know that you guys are already sort of like telling me your thoughts, but I think you're all subscribed. As far as I'm aware, you should be. I think you are. If Claudia, you know, if you're not, get subscribing. I think you are anyway. But no, we are getting very, very close to a subscriber goal, actually, which we really want to hit before the end of the year. So if you could share, not particularly this video, like I won't say share this 2.5 hour watch along with your friends, but get sending the channel around if you can, because it'd be good to get more people on stuff like this. And of course, with the lockdown that we're going into, would you guys be down for any more quizzes? Because we did those when we first went into, when we did the other lockdown as a regular thing. Would you guys be down for any more quizzes? Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, Claudia. I knew you were. I was just joking, but yeah, you guys are like the pill in terms of like our fans. Like you are like the pillars. Hennick as well. Hennick's like a pretty regular viewer as well. Okay, so you'd be down for reviews on that. That's cool. That's cool. It's just the ideas there. I'm just thinking, there's no films coming out, so yeah, we are going to be reviewing a lot of classic films. We've got a lot of franchises in mind that we're going to take on after Rocky. We might even put it out to votes as well and polls on our social medias. It's just a nice opportunity to go back and watch some of these older films that you might not have seen in a few years. Oh, I love the build-up of this scene. The cinematography and everything. Sorry, I keep clearing my throat. My voice is going. Anarchy in the UK. Bang! I love this bit. But the build-up with the dominoes here is so good. Could you imagine the person setting up this shot? If you slipped up just one iota and you knocked all those dominoes down before you're ready and you've got to stack them all back up again. Claudia, I would very much recommend watching Animaniacs if you can get a hold of some of the older episodes from the. So it was a Steven Spielberg produced cartoon in the mid-90s. Some of the best humor, one of the best, I'd say. Animaniacs and Batman the Animated Series are almost neck and neck for best cartoon series ever made, in my opinion. From writing, voice acting, production, everything. And it's coming back, so maybe it could be like one of those reboots that's terrible and 2020 agenda politics, and we can't make certain jokes now. We can't have certain characters because it's too misogynistic, or it's this, or it's that, or it could be very good. I don't know. I'm keeping myself open to it. Oh, I appreciate that, man. I'm going to bring up that comment. Just enjoy the honest, normal, but professional approach you guys bring to all your content. No, we really appreciate that. We always want to keep it 100%. We're not trying to be anything that we're not. We're just a bunch of guys that enjoy talking about movies, and you know, that's what we've been doing for, is it 5 years now? Jesus Christ. And it's a nice outlet, you know, like the little girl just got shot. Again, I mentioned that earlier. I liked that it kept cutting back to that family and her in particular, because it makes moments like that more impactful when you can attach yourself to one family or one group. I think that's probably what Joss Whedon was trying to do with Justice League, with the random Russian family that was trying to be saved. However, it didn't quite work for that one, I didn't think. You are very optimistic, Chris. I think I'm the eternal pessimist, to be honest. I rock the eternal winter, but no, I do appreciate it. And yeah, it's just a nice outlet for us, you know, like, and it's the friendships that we've built from it as well. Me, George, and Tate, we're like this. You know, we chat pretty much on a daily basis behind the scenes about stuff. It's just good. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, we would love to get the views up. We would love to get the subscriber count up, but that's not important. Like, especially during lockdown as well, with cinemas being closed, we have gone back and watched a lot of films, a lot of older films, and just keeping that love of film alive. Really, you know, just within ourselves. This sounds like really sort of like vomit inducing, but it's true. You know, just movies are the best escape, and when you can't physically escape somewhere because you're in lockdown, this is where you need sort of stories, and whether it be audiobooks, written word, TV shows, films, music, whatever it happens to be, this is where the arts are integral. This is why I really hope someone puts monies into the theaters, the movie theaters, and the play theaters, and musicians and everything. They're really important. Always put some money in a buskers thing. I don't know what they call it. Just always give money to buskers if they're playing well, because we need more musicians. We need more storytellers in this world. Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent there. I'll get off my soapbox now. I'll get off my podium. Oh, this scene. She comes back. Here's a question. If you were going to dance before a revolution, where you would probably die, this would be your... This is... I'm not being optimistic now, am I, Claudia? If you were going to have your last dance, and that jukebox, let's say it was this magical jukebox, let's say it was like Spotify or YouTube, where you could play any song that you want, what would be the final song that you dance to? That it could be an energetic song, it could be a slow dance song. Let me know, because we don't really talk about music on this channel, do we? Let me know what you guys are into, Claudia and Carl. I want to know what are some of your favorite bands, favorite genres, favorite artists. Let me know. And while you guys are doing that, Claudia says, so you agree with Scorsese, we need the theatre experience, and watching a movie on a TV is not the same. Yes, no, absolutely. We still need the big screen, and I think if cinemas close, that will be a huge blow to everything. And I don't think there will. I think there's too much money in it, and I don't think that streaming's great, and that the content that could be made for streaming is fantastic. You know, whether it be TV, what they can do with TV now is almost equal, if not better, than most movies. I think it's just the industry. I think it's just, you get your dumb summer blockbusters, you get your more thought-provoking Oscar films towards Oscar season. It's just always the way that it goes. And I think it's good to have a balance of both. I do think the industry's changed, though, the way that stories are being made. There is an inherent lack of originality. It's all adaptations, sequels, remakes, reboots, and we've said that for years now, and it's still kind of going that way. And And I think it's just like fashion, isn't it? It just moves with the time. Whatever's popular, it is a money-making business at the end of it. I don't think streaming is at a stage at the moment where people go, I'm not going to go to the cinema, I'm going to go and see this. But just on a side note, on Halloween, on the weekend, I went to see Nightmare Before Christmas, got a rescreening, which is one of my favorite films. And I went there and I booked tickets for it. And guess what? It was sold out. It was a sold out screening. And I know that it's, smaller capacity, but you had families there. You had kids that were clearly watching it for the first time. You had older fans. You had people in costume. I've never seen that, people in costume at cinema. Take that back. Midnight screening for Force Awakens and Last Jedi I did. But that's Star Wars. That's like a different thing. I had tickets booked. I didn't go in the end because I just wasn't feeling up to it. I probably should have gone now in hindsight, but I had tickets booked for a rescreening, a 40th anniversary screening of Ridley Scott's Alien on Monday. And when I booked tickets for that, it was also almost sold out. So people are still going. I think there's always going to be an audience there for the cinema. But yeah, just got to keep them going. I think it's just convenience now, isn't it? With TVs and technology getting better, 4K sound systems and everything. If you've got a decent whack of money behind you and you buy into like a home cinema system, which I mean I would love to do at some point. It's you don't have to travel out. I think a lot of people, and I think that the lockdown's going to definitely contribute to this as well. I think it's making people a lot more comfortable about staying in. Or maybe that's just me, because I've always been introverted, so I've never had a problem with just, staying in for like X amount of days, working on projects, watching movies, whatever it happens to be. I can pass the time. I can always keep myself busy with something. And I think that there is comfort there, watching a film in the comfort of your own home, at your own leisure, at your own time. You can watch it whenever you want. You can pause it. You can rewind, fast forward, get all the snacks in. You don't have to pay outrageous amounts of money for the snacks as well. You can get friends round. It's, who knows, I do think physical media, though, will be a thing of the past. I think give it a few years. I think, with the PlayStation 5, and George was saying this as well, that when I was chatting about this to him like the other week, he thinks that the PlayStation 5 will be the last video game console to have a disc drive. They're already offering you a digital only one. And I think that's going to be the way, he even thinks that 4K will be the last physical film media that we get. After that, it will move to just streaming or, the cloud or whatever it happens to be, digital download. He doesn't see that there being like a home release of an 8K or something like that. And a lot of people I know actually have sold all of their DVDs and films just because of storage space. They either get rid of the cases and just keep the discs, or they just sold them all and just watch everything online. I've actually had a big rearrange on my shelf right there with all my DVDs. I wish I could turn this around so that you could see it, but I've got a lot of junk there that you guys don't need to see, because I need to put on the act that I'm an organized and tidy person. I'm really not. But I love my physical media. I love having my 4-disc, 5-disc, 6-disc, limited edition collector's box sets, the things like the Lord of the Rings, where you fold it out of a cardboard case and it folds open and you get booklets in there, and I love all that stuff. I could never get rid of my DVDs. Never. That was on a massive tangent anyway. We're wrapping up towards the end now. And I'm looking at the time, and yeah, folks, we may have timed this right. We may have got it bang on. I'm going to be watching that like a hawk when it gets to midnight. But this is the goodbye now. Just a time check for everyone. 1 hour, 51 minutes, and 25 seconds. Evie's just saying goodbye to V. She kisses the mask. And it's like you really want them to be together, and you know that they can't, because his idea, what he wants, is more important than that. And it's, I love it. I love it. Carl says, I live alone and the channel is like dropping in on your mates, if you know what I mean. Never underestimate how much you guys help me. Oh, man, thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. Yeah, no, and that's because we never really think about that stuff from this side of it, you know. We're just, you know, we're just three guys chatting about movies, putting it out there. Hopefully someone watches it and appreciates it. I'm glad that you guys do, but you know, saying stuff like you don't know how much it means to like get through things, because you know, times are hard and we all go through moments like that. I'll openly admit that I do as well. So I'm glad that sort of we've built, albeit a very small one, we've built a community here. You know, you're the resident regulars that like to drop in, and that's great. It's great that we can have these moments like this. Going back to the music. So we've got a Prodigy fan, Claudia. Take Me to the Hospital. Excellent. Cole, I'm into rock music, Black Sabbath, Zeppelin, Tool, Purge. Yes, that's there. There you go. There you go. Not to leave you out, Claudia. I've got some time for the Prodigy as well. But yeah, no, I'm definitely more of a rock and metal fan. You're into like your classic rock with like your Sabbaths and your Zeppelins. That's cool. That's cool. Oh, Claudia, I'm also into rock, but that song would be a jolt of energy before being killed. That's true. That's true. I think in that case, then Claudia, you'd be more of a raver than a dancer. Claudia says, now that Sir Connery has sadly passed, I will have to get my box for 007. Yeah, and you know, we've talked about this on the channel ages. We've always wanted to do James Bond reviews, like on all of the Bond films, like a big marathon of them, or split videos into certain incarnations of Bond. Do like a Connery video where we talk about all of his, the Lazenby one, the Roger Moore, Dalton, Brosnan, etc. And we always get scared by it with how many films there are to do, and we always leave it too late. You know, I think when Spectre was coming out, we wanted to do it for that, and we left it like a month before when it was like it ain't enough time to get all the films watched and reviewed. We wanted to do it again for No Time to Die when it was going to come out at the beginning of this year, and we left it too late. But now that it's been delayed without fail for the last Daniel Craig Bond, we are going to be doing a Bond marathon. I can almost guarantee it. So here we go. So I mentioned this earlier in this. It's moments like this that don't take me out of the film, because I guess that's the visual style that they're going for. But the way that V fights, he is almost superhuman with his how fast he moves. He takes out an entire room of guys before they even have time to reload. This is where your Matrix kind of stuff comes into it. Your real Wachowski stuff, the bullet time, the slow-mo, the gunfights, the hand-to-hand fighting. And it almost feels slightly out of place to me. I get that they have to sort of action it up for a film if that's what they're going for. But from the ideology of the film and the story and the themes of it, it's more so the action things in the film that stick out to me. This is like your Hollywood thing. We need to appeal to the action demographic here. Oh yeah, he does the I remember this bit now. He does the Clint Eastwood Fistful of Dollars thing, doesn't he? With the metal, the plate. I mean, that guy's just eating bullets. Jesus. Carl, I noticed in some older videos you had a guitar in your background. What bands are you into? So the guitar's a fun story. That's actually my guitar case there. It's a Michael Kelly Patriot Glory with pearl inlay. It's not like a particularly famous make of guitar, I don't think. And actually I can now tell you an exact time that I first picked up a guitar, because it came up on my Facebook the other day. You know when you get those reminders of like a picture and it says how many years ago and it makes you feel really old? 7 years ago, I picked up a guitar. So self-taught, kind of on and off with practice. I think with self-teaching, you can get really good, or you can hit a certain level. You know, you can play your basic chords, you can play your bar chords, you know your Mixolydian mode from your Aeolian mode and your Locrian mode. You can do all of that stuff. You can do some scales, 3 note per string, and then you hit a standard. And it's like, what next? How do I get to the next standard? And I didn't know how to, so I kind of gave it up. I probably haven't played guitar in about 2 years now, but I'm in the process of chatting with one of my mates who's in 2 bands and knows everything there is to know about guitars. He's helping me potentially buy a guitar either this weekend or next week. and I'm going to get back into lessons. So watch this space. There might be a new guitar god on the block in a few years, so we'll see. But no, to answer your question, I'm a rock and metal fan. I do like everything. I do have an eclectic taste in music. I love Michael Jackson. I love Elvis Presley, like all of the greats like that. Film soundtracks, some classical, I love that. But my heart truly lies with rock and metal, specifically 80s rock and metal. Hair metal is my go-to. Bands like, I'm just going to throw some names out there. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. Wasp is my favorite band of all time. Motley Crue, Poison, Twisted Sister, Dokken, Danger Danger. Basically just all the hair bands out of the 80s that had enough hairspray to sink a battleship. Hairspray. I have so much shit on this desk. You guys don't even know. You guys don't even know. This is atrocious, the amount of stuff that I have on my desk. So yeah, that's the stuff where, that really gets me amped and I love it. But also just 80s music in general, 80s pop. I can listen to Madonna, I can listen to Cyndi Lauper, I can listen to Duran Duran, Tears for Fears, Soft Cell, Eurythmics, you name it, and especially 80s film soundtracks. So jump into Rocky IV, basically the Rocky IV soundtrack, the Top Gun soundtrack, certain songs that play in key points in 80s films that really jump out to me. It's just that 80s sound that I love. Oh, that's cool that you've heard of them as well, that you got them on your playlist. I'm missing a very emotional moment right now where V is dying, and this is very sad. Is he said his last words yet? Oh, where she says, I don't want you to die. And we're all there in the audience I don't want you to die either, V. And it's that is the most beautiful thing you could ever have said to me. And then he dies. It's very sad. Oh, here we go. I'm going to cry. Getting misty. I can still check in and feel the emotions of the film. I hope you're not the type of guitarist that plays Stairway to Heaven in the guitar shop. I wish I could fucking play Stairway to Heaven in a guitar shop. Here's the thing. So when I first got into it, I learned a lot of tablature, tabs on the internet. So I could get those songs down and I could play it verbatim for what the tab said. But if you asked me to improvise, to play a different solo over that, I wouldn't know where to start. So it was I was trying to learn the theory and I learned a bit of it, but I didn't really know how to apply it. Basically, I couldn't apply anything musically. So now if you ask me to play a song on guitar, I wouldn't be able to. So I'm sorry, Claudia, but unfortunately I can't serenade you on guitar. But check back in a few years' time, where once I get back into lessons, and I'm confident I can get back into it. If anything, I think that I've learned a lot from sort of teaching myself, and I should have a good bass. It's not like I'm sort of picking up a guitar and I'm what is a C chord? I can still go into a C to a D to a G, E minor, E, F chord, the bar chords. So I've got a good bass. I think it's just going to be so I can go like sweep picking and all that stuff. We are coming up to the midnight. We're coming up to midnight. We are 1 minute away, almost. 1 minute and 5 seconds away. If I have timed this right, this will be the happiest that I've ever been. This will be great. We're 1 minute away. I will get back to the music discussion once we hit the credits, because we're almost near the end of the film now, and this ending just needs to be seen because it's magnificent. Oh God, please say I've timed this right. Oh, the pressure's on. If I'm 1 second out, I'm never going to forgive myself. I'm going to have to do this again next year and try and time it right. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Can you guys see that? Oh, I got a bit of the glare on the screen. Hang on, if I bump the brightness down. There we go. Let's see if we get it right. When that goes clunk and it hits midnight, come on. Keep the faith, guys. We can do it. I think I'm going to be out. I think I'm going to be out, Or I might just make it. Come on. I was 1 second out. I was 1 second out. I'm counting that, guys. I'm counting that. That was down to the wire. Oh, okay. Well, happy 5th of November, guys. Happy Bonfire Night, Guy Fawkes Night, whatever the hell you call it. Happy holidays. I don't know. We're here on the 5th of November. And although we won't be able to go out later on today for a bonfire, maybe you can let off some fireworks, whatever you got to do. I'm glad that we all got to celebrate the 5th of November. We're giving them a 5th of November. They shall never, ever be forgot. Here we are. We may not be at the cinema for it, but we got to see it. And I'm glad that you two have joined me as well for it. I thought I was going to be alone in my 5th of November celebrations. Oh, isn't that just so cathartic? Like, oh, my headphones are on full blast right now. They're cracking it so loud. This is great. Who was he? Sir Edmund Dantes. He was my father. Yeah. He was all of us. That's the whole point. I get it. I get the theme. I like how in the crowd, I think you can see characters that have died previously. I think you can see Stephen Fry and the lesbian couple from earlier, and the little girl as well. I think you can. Maybe I'm wrong. I always thought you could. There you go. Yeah, yeah. There we go, folks. We are hitting credits now. Rolling Stones? Rolling Stones. So we've probably got about 10 minutes, give or take. So I'll just go back to the music discussion. Yeah, no, again, massive thank you for you two joining on and getting the chat going. This has been really good fun tonight. So Claudia said, you were born in the 90s, right? Interesting that you like 80s music. This is true. And I've been trying to work out where my love of 80s music came from. So yeah, so I'm 27. I was born 93 in the January of 93. But my upbringing, especially with films, my upbringing was very 80s. You know, a lot of the films I was watching were from the 80s. You know, we had Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Batman 89. I was watching a lot of films that I shouldn't have been watching as well, that were much higher certificate from that decade and from even decades, you know, like the 70s and the 60s as well. So I was watching a lot of stuff, but a lot of the films I was inherently watching, animated films I was watching, you know, like An American Tail, The Land Before Time, a lot of those were also from the 80s. I did definitely have my 90s upbringing as well. I had the best Disney films anyone could ever hope to have. Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Hunchback, Hercules, Mulan, Tarzan, you name it. The Disney Renaissance was my entire youth, basically. The best kids TV shows as well, the 90s. Like, I defy anyone to argue otherwise. The 90s was just peak for animation. But music was interesting, and it took me a long time to sort of find my musical identity, I guess. It was sort of like I always loved my film soundtracks. Throughout school, I played violin, loved the Lord of the Rings music, always used to play the Rohan theme. But I'd also listen to like the charts. I was a big sort of like top 40s charts listener throughout the 90s, the 2000s as well. And I still have a soft spot in my heart for those really cheesy 90s bands, Backstreet Boys, S Club 7, Aqua, all stuff like that. JX is like, of course you play the violin. Yes, yeah. But I always loved rock music. Always loved rock music. Like deep down, I always used to pretend that I didn't. I was the violin guy. Rock was too loud and everything like that. But as I got older, I used to watch people playing guitar. I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. And I never did do that until much later when I picked up a guitar and was like self-teaching myself. And I actually think the biggest thing that got me into rock music was Guitar Hero 3. It was in the last year of sixth form, so just when I was about to leave and go to university. And my friend was like, got this game called Guitar Hero, we're going to play it. And I was like, oh, I don't really like any of the songs on here. I played Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses on Guitar Hero 3. I was hooked. And then from there, because he was already into rock music, he was saying stuff like, I was saying, what bands could you recommend to get me into rock music? And I think the top two that he said were Metallica and Iron Maiden. And those were the two that I went and listened. I went and got the discography of Metallica. I started with them first, loved it. Did the same with Iron Maiden. And they, for the longest time, were my two favorite bands. And then because rock and metal is such a broad genre, you kind of branch off in many different directions. With loads of different subcategories and subgenres within it. And I guess the 80s stuff was just the stuff that spoke to me, that just hit me the hardest, was the sound that I liked, the vocals, the instrumentation, the image, the energy of it was just so just palpable to me. And I just loved it. Couldn't get enough of it. I already loved 80s films, so I think that probably helped with sort of like the cheesy 80s music videos. But also I think a big proponent of why I love the 80s music so much and why maybe it feels nostalgic to me, even though I didn't grow up in the 80s, was Grand Theft Auto Vice City. So I played that probably around like the age of 9, 10. And if you've played Grand Theft Auto Vice City, you know the soundtrack. You know what I'm talking about. The whole image of the Miami beachfront, the Miami Vice kind of feel to it, the Scarface references, but the soundtracks, the radio stations, Flash FM, V-Rock, Fever 105, like all of them, Emotion 98.3? And that got me into the music, and it just sort of went from there. It's a funny thing, really. Sorry, that was a random tangent, but we're passing time over the credits, and you guys asked, so I tell. Claudia says, my favorite metal band is Gojira, but Faith No More have a very special place in my heart. I'm going to be honest, haven't listened to either anything or very little from either of those bands. I do very much have a safety bubble with music, which is kind of a detriment to me. I found the 80s sound that I like, and I pretty much only exclusively listen to stuff from 1980 to maybe the early 90s, where it was starting to phase out. Not all the time. I do listen to some other stuff, but I definitely do need to listen to some different bands and sort of break out my comfort zone. But I'm a very stubborn person, especially when it comes to liking what I like. So maybe I'll throw it on Spotify at some point. So we're still on the credits. We're still on the credits, right? I'm still reeling over that 1 second difference. 1 second, like so close. But no, this has been good fun. This has been good fun. I know that I've talked over the entire movie, but that's what these commentaries are for, right? You can't have a watch along and just sit in silence for 2 hours. So hopefully, I don't think my tones have been quite as dulcet and suave as Hugo Weaving's, but I try. Jake says, I'm back to watching the finale right now. Personal behind the scenes conversation. I'll get back to you in a minute, dude, after this is finished. Basically, for context, JX Editor is currently watching a fan edit of, going back to what we talked about earlier, Game of Thrones Season 8, where they've taken Season 7 and Season 8, cut out the worst parts of it, and mashed it together in the hopes of making something passable. So once he's finished the finale, I'll be asking a lot of questions his way. Also, go and check out JX's channel, JX Editor. You might even find me on there too in a few videos. So check that out. That's a bit of a plug for you there, dude. And we're getting that. Oh, they're playing the God is in the Rain music again. I think we're rounding up here. V for Vendetta, in case you forgot what movie we were watching. And fade. Film logos. Yeah, we got to go through the whole film logo thing. Okay, so I think that was it. I'm just going to wait till it properly finishes because I'm like that with credits. I'd still be sat in the cinema right now like, nope, it hasn't finished. That's the final Warner Brothers logo. When that fades off and that goes off and the house lights come on, that's when I can leave. And it's finished. It's finished. Okay, so you're welcome, dude. Carl says, I think my biggest disappointment was the Ice King. Felt like a lot of build up for nothing. Hey, it's subverted your expectations, right? Which is, I hate it so much. And don't get me started on a sequel trilogy discussion with subversion of expectations, because it's too late. It is 11 minutes past midnight in the AM. And I have work in the morning. I have work in... I start at 9. I've got time. Who needs sleep? Who needs sleep? Claudia is subscribed. There you go, dude. JX, you've got another subscriber. Every little bit helps. Yeah, so I pretty much am talked out. I'm surprised that my voice is still here. I'm probably going to wake up tomorrow and talk to people at work and be like, ugh. It's like, Chris, didn't Halloween finish last weekend? But yeah, no, this was great fun. So once again, I'm going to round off. I'm going to quickly go through everything. I think you're all subscribed, but just for the sake of continuity, let us know thoughts on V for Vendetta if you've taken away from the people that have watched this now. If you've just discovered this, if you've managed to sit through a 2-hour video of me waffling on about V for Vendetta and all other manner of things, let us know what you think of the movie. Do you enjoy it? Do you think it's a good adaptation? Have you read the graphic novel? As Carl mentioned earlier, it is currently on sale on Amazon in the UK for £11. Definitely pick up a copy. I'll probably pick up one anyway. And like, comment, share, subscribe. We are very, very close to hitting a milestone in terms of our subscribers, and it would be really, really nice to hit that before January, hopefully. So spread the word, share it, let them, if you know any of your friends that like films, be like, hey, come subscribe to Cinema Savvy. Occasionally they have some okay commentaries on stuff. Facebook, Cinema Savvy. Twitter, Cinema_Savvy. You know the drill by now. If you want to pick up a very nice and oh so comfy Cinema Savvy t-shirt, go to the TeePublic link in the description down below. We have 3 designs on there now, and they're really, really comfy shirts. And I am not just saying that because it's our merch. It's probably the comfiest shirt that I own. So yeah, no, this was great. Thank you to everyone that jumped on and keeping the conversation going. I'm not going to lie, when I got like the first half hour into this thing, I was tempted to end broadcast because we had no one on it. And then the last minute, we had all you guys come in, and I'm very glad that I kept it going. Carl is up at 5:30. Bloody hell. Okay, I'm going to round it off. Going to check out some videos next. Night, Chris, and thank you again for tonight. You're welcome, man. Thank you to everyone. You guys were a blast. We will see you on Friday. So Friday for Mandalorian discussion. Sunday, we have another Battle of the Brackets episode where we'll be arguing for best cinema double act. So that's going to be a lot of fun as well. And of course, next week we're going to be getting back into more of our retro reviews. So go get some rest, stay safe, and we'll keep it locked here during lockdown and hopefully get you through some of those trying times. Good night, everyone. Thank you.